So this morning I woke up between two wagons in a goods yard. I couldn't work it out. On the plus side, when I was walking back to the car, I stumbled across a blue brick, and I thought, that's the very thing that I need for my new patio. So just between me and you, picked it up, took it home. What I should have done was chucked it there and then, because taking it home was just the beginning of my problems. Mind you, getting home was a breeze, because everybody seemed to want to get out of my way. Felt like Moses. And when I got home, my troll has been back. They brought me this the last time, and if you thought things weren't already a bit strange, they're about to get a whole lot weirder. What do I mean? Well, I seem to be living in loops. I'm always here. If you follow me on Strava, you'll see my running patterns keep going round and round in circles. It's almost like I'm caught in some weird time vortex. The day is repeating over and over. I'll tell you more about that later. Let's have a look to see what the troll brought. This time we've got Parkside models, now produced by Peco, PC23 LNER Bogie brick wagon, and as usual comes with some brief instructions outlining basic construction and decal placement, also giving a brief history. Contained in the box is 6 sprues, 3 of which are identical, and as usual I started the construction from the bottom up, starting with the bogies. There's a fair bit of flash on these and they need quite a bit of cleaning up. If I was to build these again, I'd probably look at replacement bogies from an outside source. I had to double drill the bogie side frames, first with a 2 and then with one slightly bigger, so that the bearing cup would sit recessed. I could have used a different type of bearing cup, but these are the ones that came supplied in the kit. But once glued up and trued on a flat plate, they run really smooth and they'll be okay. Not long after I finished these bogies, Brian popped over and I thought, he's lived in the area all his life. He must know something about these little bricks. I thought I'd ask him. His response was a little concerning.
Keep that away from me.
Why?
That's a time loop brick.
Time loop or time warp?
It's just a jump to the left.
No, time loop.
Why are these so special then?
Strange things happen to people who touch them.
After these revelations, I thought it was high time I did a little bit more modelling. First fixing the ends to the floor, followed by the sides. It's fairly straightforward, box-like construction. So long as everything's square and you're on a flat surface, everything should be fine. I've seen quite a few different methods of doing this. My preferred one is gluing the end to the floor, then gluing the side to the end, and then gluing the side to the floor. Rinse and repeat for the other side. Whilst I was building this, I was mulling over what Brian had said to me and thought, well, if it's this important, maybe it's worth a few quid. So I took it down the bank, and believe me, there were some right nutty boys down there. When I eventually got to see the bank manager, he told me in no uncertain terms that that sort of brick is not welcome, even if I stored it in a safe deposit box. So I took the brick back home and did some more modelling. I spent a lot of time cleaning up the sole bars because there was an awful lot of flash on them, and it made a huge mess on my board. Positioned and glued into place from the inside, it was then time to address the brake gear, which I elected to modify. Drilled out the V-hangers and then inserted some brass rod, fabricating a joint so that it would sit nicely on the vacuum cylinder. Assembly almost complete. I put it on the scales to weigh it, and it came up a little bit light, so a lead weight was cut and held into place by some styrene strip, which also helped to keep the body just a little bit more rigid. I had some spare vacuum pipes on hand, so I attached them because they are a prominent part of the wagon. However, I had to cut the pipe off the bottom that goes underneath the frames because that fouled the coupling when the bogies were attached. While I was doing this, it occurred to me that the brick that I found, may well be a trap set by an old adversary.
Yes.
And quite possibly there's only one man that could probably save me. He hasn't done yet, but he did give me some travel tips. He can do a lot, but he can't paint. Not like me anyway. Watch this. With the bodies painted, it was time to give the undercoats a bit of a lick of paint. Revel number 9. Then it was back to guesswork for the interior and the bare wood. A thin base coat applied first. Not worried about coverage because there's several other layers, and the more layers that show through the better. An acrylic layer next, and I tend to do this in sections because it dries really quick. Again, not worried about coverage because it's all about layers. Once it's all done, it's then a dark wash, and this was thinned as well. Left to dry briefly, and then the excess wiped off. Inside sides were treated in the same way as the floor. And then what is becoming my favourite part is the powders, which was just brick dust. Initially 25 of these wagons were built by the Great Northern Railway in 1920 and could carry 20,000 bricks apiece. A further 25 were built by the LNER in 1930, and for the majority of their lives would be seen hauling bricks between Peterborough and London, usually at the head of long coal trains. And talking of bricks, the one that I found has caused me so much grief over the last couple of hours. I didn't know what to do, and for some reason found myself wandering in a goods yard again. With all the turmoil that this thing has caused me, I thought I should have just taken the advice that I gave myself at the beginning and just throw the damn thing away. That sounded like it hit bricks. I thought these wagons were empty. Let's get up and have a look. Why have I woken up in a goods yard? Oh look, a brick.